the scenes for that one.
Yeah, it definitely took me a lot longer than 11 seconds to write a whole article recapping the trailer, but man, I put my work into it. Yeah, so last night during the season finale episode of The Walking Dead Conquer, we got the first footage, I guess you want to call it that, of Fear the Walking Dead, which was also recently titled. So now we have that to work with as far as spin-off goes. But the teaser basically just sets up what we've described in what we've come to understand where it's going to be set, when it's going to be set, which is LA and near the time of the outbreak to begin with. And we really just see kind of disparate shots of LA with a radio broadcast announcing that there's some kind of fever going on, so be careful out there. Like, it's pretty straightforward stuff, but I guess.
And then we get like a shot of a tunnel with a zombie coming towards the camera.
Yeah, we get some. Yeah, it's like a slow version of the end of 28 weeks later. There's a reference before.
We talked a little bit about this off the air and on like the Facebook group and stuff, but I'm pretty sure none of us are happy with the title Fear the Walking Dead, right? That strikes all of us as pretty lame.
It feels like something like someone wrote on the board and then they drew lines from to come up with better ideas and they never got past that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my take on it. Okay, so The Walking Dead, in the comic and in the show, The Walking Dead technically refers to the living, the characters. So instead of Fear the Walking Dead, why not The Walking Dead, Fear the Living? That would, if they wanted to use the fear, that I think would have made more sense.
Yeah, I mean, something of that nature. I mean, I think The Walking Dead something was something we were all expecting to begin with, and good on Rob Kirkman and everybody else who's like, we'll give them something they don't expect, but I mean, it's pretty lame. Fear the Walking Dead.
And I wouldn't say I'm unhappy. I'm just, as long as the show has quality, they could call it whatever they want.
I mean, if I'm watching shows like Blackish and Fresh Off the Boat, which I don't think are the most elaborately titled shows right now, and enjoying them, it's not the title that's going to throw me off. It's just still. It's kind of like
here are my top 3 rejected titles. Number 3 is Walking Dead Nights, like Baywatch Nights, a little kooky, a little crazier. Number 2, Walking Dead LA, just like CSI. And then my number 1 choice was California Zombification,
which would be wonderful.
Which would be awesome. And I still think if they want to go with the Fear and Loathing in The Walking Dead, or the Fear and Loathing in Los Angeles.
I like Laverne and Zombie, or the Walkersons, 2 lesser-known spin-off shows that no one remembers were spin-offs in the first place, but they were.
Zoda, that's a road to do. Yeah,
Freaks and Geeks and Geeks.
Yeah, the show Fear the Walking Dead. I mean, we're gonna have to live with that, but I mean, it's a teaser. There's not much to go on, but it's fine. It just kind of indicates that it's coming, I guess. So after years of waiting for delivery on the idea of like, hey, the Walking Dead's gonna give a spin-off, we know it's coming this summer. So
it just didn't really learn anything that we haven't already read online.
Well, I mean, not everybody follows every little morsel of news like we do. Exactly, there are a lot of people who just watch The Walking Dead, and they give it an hour a week, and that's it. And for them, see this teaser trailer, it places it in a very definite part of the timeline at the beginning of the outbreak. It shows them it's in a different place in Los Angeles, but it's the same Walking Dead brand. I think that's really the main selling points they want to get across. So,
such irresponsible television watching. You should be keeping yourself informed.
And we should say now that we will, of course, be here throughout the summer when the show premieres. That was one odd thing that we didn't get a specific premiere date, but whatever. When the show premieres, we will be right back here on this podcast feed talking about Fear the Walking Dead. So fear not, listeners, except The Walking Dead.
When would it be? I mean, it's like Mad Men will end like beginning of June, I guess, right?
Well, Mad Men's only got, what, 8 episodes?
Yeah, beginning of June, like April.
Probably.
I'm thinking June or July.
Yeah. So the show would have, chapter probably. I mean, it would either want to cash in on Comic-Con in some way, like premiere like after Comic-Con. That's a possibility. Because Comic-Con's early this year, like the beginning of July. It's like the second week or something. So if anything, it'd be like mid-July, and then you'd have like a big lead up based off that. Watch the premiere trailer or something of that nature. That's giant speculation, but or just have a panel at Comic-Con that incorporates both The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, or have 2 separate panels. God, that's gonna be a big line right there. I can tell right now.
And remind me, how many episodes is season 1 gonna be?
How many episodes of Fear the Walking Dead are gonna be? That is a good question. I believe it's 6, just like the first season of The Walking Dead.
That sounds right. So.
Yes, and then there's already a second season ordered, which will premiere sometime in 2016.
Right.
The line is already forming around Hall H.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, we talk about Fear the Walking Dead, and that gives us the best excuse possible to provide episodes between the break of this season and next season of The Walking Dead. So there you go. FTWDTV.
All right, our next bit of news is the ratings for this week's episode. Rich, I believe you have that information up on your screen, so I'd like listeners and us know, how did The Walking Dead do for its season finale?
Well, it actually was the highest rated finale in the show's 5-year history. It delivered 15.8 million viewers, of which 10.4 were adults 18 to 49. So far in the 5th season, they've been averaging somewhere around 14.5 million viewers per episode, with 9.4 million adults 18 to 49. So it definitely blew those numbers out of the water. Talking Dead itself had the highest ratings it had. I'm referring to it as the Norman Reedus and Carol factor. But 7.5 million viewers, and almost 5 million of those were 18 to 49. So very good night for The Walking and Talking Dead and the AMC network.
Do we think Fear the Walking Dead will have Fear the Talking Dead following it?
I was wondering, and I thought that he would have announced it, I would think, but maybe they haven't really come to that.
It felt like he was skirting around the issue, like he wanted to say something but couldn't, or doesn't know for sure yet, when he was saying, like, we'll see you back in the summer, or in the fall, if not sooner, or something like that.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, I kind of don't want a talking one after just each of the 6 episodes, because it was kind of cool that we had the first of the Walking Dead proper, we had those 6 episodes, the viewership got to invest emotionally into the characters, and then season 2 started with the Talking Dead after show, where, it basically was, as he refers to it, therapy for what we just watched.
I don't think I don't watch The Talking Dead that much. Like sometimes I'll catch it if I happen to, just because I'm already writing away myself. I don't have time to watch another thing and then stay awake. But I see no problem with having a talking. Fear the Talking Dead after a Fear the Walking Dead episode if you want to watch it. I mean, it's just free money for AMC. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they do it for them to do like a half an hour format. Like, wasn't the first season of Talking Dead half hour?
Yeah. You said doo-doo.
I would be surprised for them to do a different format for the first season, maybe more behind the scenes stuff, half an hour, something like that. Because I kind of agree with Rich. You need kind of that backbone of the show and some investment in the characters before something like Talking Dead can really pay off. And so they might want to play around with that if they do it all for the first season.
And I would be fine for having one after that, but I really don't want a huge trend started of all these TV shows having talk shows afterwards.
Yeah, but it's been going on for a couple of years at this point in terms of having an after show, and not many other shows really. No real other shows adopted it beyond some that have tried and not been successful.
Well, I'll say that Sons of Anarchy tried, and the guy that got to host was just it drove me nuts.
But it didn't go anywhere. I think Falling Skies tried one too with Will Wheaton, I believe, and that didn't go anywhere. I mean, no one really cares about these except for Walking Dead. So I
think it's a Chris Hardwick thing because he had a successful after talk show of Doctor Who for a while,
and he did Breaking Bad for the last season. I mean, I agree with you. I do think it's Hardwick. I don't think by having him do another talking after show talk episode for Fear the Walking, I don't think that's going to take away from anything or start trend because the trend hasn't really caught on anywhere else. So
yeah,
maybe they can get Matt Myra to do one.
Yeah, talking turn.
Are we ready to talk Walking Dead, gentlemen?
No, I got one more. High Summer Moon. That's the after show for the second season of Winter Sun is coming.
Oh God, I hope not. That show was terrible.
Well, Bunny James is busy now for some reason. I don't know. We'll get to it, I guess.
Talking Catch Fire?
Talking Catch Fire?
Oh no.
I would watch that. I do like that show.
That's still on Nerdist Alley. That's a show about *Halt and Catch Fire*, where they talk about the nerdy things that go on *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Exactly.
Did you see that Apple IIe? That was vintage, dude.
There you go.
Alrighty, so of course, season 5, episode 16 was entitled Conquer. It was directed by Greg Nicotero and written by Scott Gimple and Seth Hoffman, and it was a 90-minute episode, only the third in the show's history. And we had a ton of guest actors: Tova Felchu as Deanna Monroe, Lenny James returning as Morgan Jones, which is very exciting, Alexander Breckenridge as Jesse Anderson, Ross Marquand as Aaron, Austin Nichols as Spencer Monroe, Steve Coulter as Reg Monroe, Benedict Samuel as Man, we'll get to him soon, Jason Douglas as Tobin, Jesse Boyd as Other Man, we'll also get to him soon, Corey Brill as Pete Anderson, Jason Alexander Davis as the illustrious Red Poncho Man, Ted Huckabee as Bruce, Dahlia Legault as Francine, Mandy Christine Kerr as Mother Number 1, Tiffany Morgan as Aaron, Jordan Woods Robinson as Eric, David Marshall Silverman as Kent, Michael Traynor as Nicholas, and not featured in this episode, Major Dodson.
I was going to say, it was such a crime that they left him out of the finale.
He could have been in the town meeting, like Jesse couldn't hold him, or like, clutching him close.
To see his father murder somebody?
Oh, that'd be so off key for The Walking Dead to show a parent being killed in front of their child. That would be something wild.
That'd be awesome. And then he starts crying and Carol hands him a cookie.
3-time child killer Rick would never do something like that.
So the episode begins with a return look to Morgan. Very excited to see him. He's been sleeping in a car out in the woods, and he wakes up, looks at the rabbit foot he has hanging from the rearview mirror, and then he gets up and brews a cup of coffee at his camp. And it's all kind of done very silently. It's nice, peaceful music playing for a majority of the scene, and he's just about getting comfortable and about to take a sip when out of the woods comes Man, played by Benedict Samuel. I will be referring to him as Del for the rest of the episode, and his buddy as Arno, for reasons that close watchers will know. This guy has a W either carved on his forehead or marked on his forehead with ink. You're saying carve?
It was carve.
Okay.
It was a scar. I was watching it.
Okay.
I was looking at it. I was like, this is, yeah, they did like makeup to make it a scar.
Well, he's got a gun, and he holds Morgan at gunpoint, sits down, starts talking to him. It's pretty quickly revealed that he is one of the wolves, or whatever we're going to be calling this group. The W notwithstanding, but he starts talking about wolves and how the first settlers in this area, when they got here, they started putting bounties on the heads of wolves. They got the natives to help them, and pretty soon they had wiped all the wolves out. And then he also talks later about how the natives of the area thought that man had descended from the wolves, and how now everything's kind of turning back in on itself and becoming secular as we return to a wolf state. And Morgan makes a comment about everything being cyclical, and the guy starts kind of talking with him jovially, but it's pretty clear that this is not a peaceful meeting.
Well, I mean,
Looking at him.
Oh, yeah.
He was holding him at gunpoint, first of all. And second of all, I mean, he has that great ironic line reading of everything gets a return. I mean, talking about Morgan coming back, of course, and talking about the wolves. So I thought that was kind of nice.
A few things, because I know there's more of it. This cold open is amazing. That's what I thought of the season finale in general, by the way.
Oh, that's true. Hey, I'm mixing things up. Wow, man.
Whoa, easy.
Should we get past this cold open and then do that?
Sure, if you'd like.
All right. I mean, there's so many factors of this cold open that make it amazing, but before we get to like the other part of it that's awesome, just this whole setup here. For one thing, yes, it's a W. Can we stick with that now? That it's not an M, it's a W. Are we good? Are we good with that at this point?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Never had a problem with it.
I know. And they're wolves. I mean, there's nothing that says they're not wolves. I mean, that's their name. Okay.
Well, my only reason for saying that I don't know if they consider them the wolves is I was kind of saying that if they're collecting the people and the zombies, those are the wolves. So I don't know if they consider themselves the natives or whatever they would call themselves. They seem to consider everyone else wolves.
Well,
If you carve yourself a W in the forehead, I mean, what
I agree. It's a
well,
little bit
and he was
off.
saying that it returns, that it's secular, that that they're basically the wolves returned. I mean, they were pretty much very well invested in that they were the wolves, minus calling themselves Romulus and Remus. I mean,
Backstreet's back, all right. So let's
Oh, man.
with like the start with Morgan, I thought was wonderful, and I kind of thought to myself, what if they just came out and shot him right now? Like, so I just jumped and got the upper hand, and that was just the end of Morgan. And sure enough, a wolf comes out with a gun. I was like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. Is it like I put it to spell doom for Morgan? Of course that's not gonna happen because he wouldn't set that up and not paid off anyway, satisfying whatsoever. But it's such a great just conversation the two have between each other, and just the way the two of them are delivering these lines, and then there's just that really creepy shot or that creepy line of Man
Del.
Del, yeah, saying, put that down. I want all of you, every last drop. It's just like it's such a the way that's performed is so just creepy without being like overly intimidating. It's just like it's this kind of subtly played.
He's so nonchalant about the whole
Yes,
thing.
exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to take all your stuff. And Morgan's like, well, can you at least leave me like a day's worth? He's like, oh, no. You're coming with me too. And you're not exactly going to be alive. Like, you don't need to worry about any of that. Don't worry. You're going to be dead. You're just going to come with me. It's all going to be fine.
It's similar to like Gareth and how matter of fact everything was in terminus in terms of business as usual type procedures.
Right.
Except this guy's way more manic. Like, there's
yeah.
clearly something, I mean, obviously, something very wrong with this guy. But there's clearly something wrong with him besides what he's doing. There's something very off inside of his head as well. And I thought it was very well acted.
It's not like eating people, which is comes with the territory.
Yeah, even by the end of this episode, I have no idea what these guys are doing. It's terrifying. I don't know what it is. What is their end goal, aside from killing everyone?
Right before Morgan breaks off the staff and the guy tries to jump or whatever, the way he like tells me, he delivers that one line, and I agree with Aaron, it's good acting on both sides. They're good, well played scene. He has that one line, he just says, "Just be still," and he almost says it the way you say it to a child who's like annoying you or something. It's just a great delivery, really great opening scene.
little did they know they were messing with Darth Morgan.
So, as you guys said, he's telling him to be still, and when Morgan hears from behind him some wrestling in the woods, and he jumps out of the way right as another one of the wolves, this would be Arno, jumps out at him, and Morgan grabs his staff, he starts knocking both guys around, Darth Maul style, kind of like a bow staff, and it's a nice staff, by the way, with a cool, like, twisting cut throughout the handle, the hilt, whatever you want to call it, and he keeps basically knocking them down and telling them, you can just leave, you don't have to do this, and they keep coming at him, and he keeps knocking them down again and telling them to leave, stop, and just go away, and he won't hurt him. They don't listen, so finally he knocks them out, a zombie comes out of the woods, he picks up the gun that the guy dropped, tries to kill the zombie, turns out, these guys didn't even have any bullets. He kills the zombie with his staff, he puts the two guys, still alive, in the car that he had been sleeping in, he honks the horn to see if there's any zombies around, he takes the rabbit's foot off the rearview mirror, and we cut to our opening credits.
Now, the Darth Maul thing, that's like a fun, yeah, he's supposed to have it. But at the same time, I was also thinking, the way he was performing these moves, he was reminding me of like Denzel Washington in the Book of Eli.
Oh, 100%.
And mainly because the way he was he was acknowledging they were around him with eye contact, but at the same time, there was half a second I was like, wait, is he blind now? Just the
I
way he was
think I
holding
said the same thing out
Right?
loud.
Right.
I was
So
thinking
weird.
that too.
like just he was looking at the ground and the way he was positioning himself, it just seemed like, is he blind? Like,
He
is that
seems more
sound
blind than Denzel did in the movie where he was supposed to be blind. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jerry. But in a cool way. I don't know, that doesn't really make sense, but he seemed very zen about the whole thing.
Yeah.
This is a new Morgan.
Yeah,
This is Morgan like we've seen him before.
If they don't explain and go back with flashbacks what happened between Clear and now with Morgan, at least give us some webisodes or something, because there's definitely a good story there.
And they alluded to that in Talking Dead, basically said, we will get an answer, just not now.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if we got some kind of flashback, but I think Lenny James is a good enough actor where you could just have him kind of speak and we'd be confined with whatever answer he comes up with.
True, but it'd be cool to see it too.
By the way, I mean, we'll get more Lenny James, more Morgan, but I mean, the amount of time he has in this episode, let alone in the series in general, I appreciate so much, and it's a shame that I can't say the same about certain other characters that we've seen throughout, this entire season or half the season or what have you that we should be caring more about, but don't necessarily.
Father Gabriel has had more than double Morgan's screen time in the series so far, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just wrap your head around that.
Sasha has more than quadruple.
But at least Sasha isn't Father Gabriel.
Fair.
I mean, no one really is, except for Father Gabriel. But anyway, so at Mr. Newest Request, gentlemen, what did you think of this episode in general before we get into the actual body of the episode?
I said this on Facebook, but I think you'd have to be a real Brad Milo not to like this episode.
Funny enough. We love Brad.
I respect Brad's opinions. I like having fun with him. I wish he was on this podcast, actually. But I thought this was one of maybe the best finale of the season of The Walking Dead I've seen. I think it was very satisfying for a number of reasons. I love that it doesn't rely on shocking deaths to make it something more. I like the way it tries to wrap up various arcs and set up new things for the future. And I was just beyond, even with Father Gabriel and Sasha, who I've been very adamant and complaining about in the past few episodes, I've just been just seeing the way it all came together. I was mostly very satisfied with, and given that I've had issues with the previous season finales, I think A was pretty good last year. That was
a really solid one. Yeah. I'd say that would take the cake for my favorite of the season finales, but this one's up there.
Because I had problems with the third season finale where everyone's like coming back from Woodbury and then like the barn burning down. That was a fun one, I guess. And then there's like that explosion in the first season. So I mean, this season I just really enjoyed it. It was the first Walking Dead season finale where I actually was like, yeah, all right, let's see what goes next. Like that was actually my reaction out loud with my friends while we were watching it.
And I think a large part of that was the 90 minutes. It had a lot of room to breathe, and I think they used it very well.
It felt like a satisfying character-driven episode.
The way I would describe it was, I agree about the character-driven, but the whole episode, yes, none of our major characters died, not even really that many minor characters died, a couple did, but I had this feeling of dread in the pit of my stomach for the whole episode, beginning to end, where there were points where I thought major characters were going to die. I legitimately thought, hey, this is the show killing off X character, Y character, Z character, and they didn't, but that doesn't negate the fact that they made me think they were going to, and I had that sense of dread the whole time. I can't really ask for anything more. That's the feeling I'm looking for from a character death. If I can get that without the character death, hey, Kate can get it too,
And to an extent, it replaces that dread with a sense of hope, because there's a lot of hope in this episode, beyond how troubling the end of the episode might be. The other characters that we follow, there's a lot of quote-unquote good things that happen to most of them.
Rich and Jim, what do you think?
Well, I think that this is my favorite season finale out of the 5 seasons. It didn't quite have the CDC explosion that season 1 had, but, everything else was awesome. There was definitely...
Wait, are you counting the CDC explosion as a good thing in the show?
I think it means in terms of like a big kind of major event to take place.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a good thing. It just was an impressive, bit of television. I kind of measure the season finales and the mid-season finales on how many times, I'm like, oh, it just like what? And there were a lot of either, like Aaron said, oh yeah, let's see what's happening next, or just those oh my god moments. I mean, Morgan showing up in the cold opening, fantastic. The Daryl and Aaron stuck in that car. I was pretty certain that they weren't ready to kill off Daryl, but I kind of thought that they might have been leading to it this last half of the season, but luckily they got out of that. But again, with Morgan showing up, that gave me another one of those
Yes, we'll get there.
The Carol, even though we saw it in the Talking Dead preview last week, the Carol with the casserole thing. I mean, I stopped, rewound that scene just to watch it a second time right in the middle of the episode, because if you weren't in love with the character of Carol before, you should be after that, because that was just genius the way that she delivered that. I absolutely loved it. Was his name Reg? Was that Diana's husband?
Yes.
Reg, yeah. When he gets his demise, that kind of threw me for a loop, and it was like wow. And then what happens right after that. It was like, whoa. So, I mean, it was like they just had a beat every 5 to 10 minutes of just something that either made you scream out in joy or, just hold your breath. And to me, that just fantastic. One of the best episodes of the series, and definitely, in my opinion, the best season finale.
I liked it a lot. I have to give a lot of credit to Greg Nicotero for the direction of this episode, especially the way he was able to intercut from storyline to storyline, and like different high points and different plot points that kind of lined up in the sequence of the way he told the story, which we'll get to later. Morgan's always a good thing in my book. I really like the way this played out. There were a lot of, like, for me when I was watching it, noticing a lot of callbacks to past episodes, like the town meeting was almost like a callback to the end of episode 2, where they had that like meeting where Rick establishes the dictatorship. There were a lot of like little things that call back to other parts of the show. Maggie talking about Herschel. It kind of really brought a lot of things together and reminded us of a lot of things that we've seen in the show so far. And the action was top notch. I thought the acting was really good all across the board. Sometimes the acting kind of oversells what can be spotty dialogue at times, but I didn't think we had that in this episode. I thought it was really tight, well written, well directed, well acted. I thought one of the best season finales we've had.
Right on. So shall we proceed to the body of the episode?
Let's do it.
All right. So in Alexandria, Rick wakes up and after being knocked out by a at the end of last episode, and he's informed that Pete Anderson has been separated from Jesse, and that Deanna is planning to hold a town forum that night to decide whether Rick should be exiled from town for his actions. Rick decides he's going to attend the forum to defend himself, but he also makes a backup plan with the rest of his team to seize control of the town in case things get out of hand. And it's interestingly enough, Carol even feigns ignorance to Michonne and everyone else there. Like, she plays it off as, why'd you steal the gun, Rick? And still playing along con, even with the crew there. I really like that.
I gotta say, Melissa McBride is like the secret weapon of the show. I mean, a lot of the focus is on Rick and on Glenn and on some of the other characters. I mean, even some of the newer characters. But Melissa McBride has like been the like rock of acting in the show, going all the way back to the first season, and on through now. I mean, look at how big of a role and how cool like her moments are in this, and what her character accomplishes and brings across. That comes out of the history of her character. I mean, it all makes total sense what Carol is in this headspace, and I thought her performance, Melissa McBride's performance was just great in this episode.
She has one of the best lines. Probably actually she and Morgan tie with best lines of this episode, but she has one where Michonne asks her why she's telling stories, and her answer is, these people are children, and children like stories. It's just the greatest like badass line she could deliver. I loved it.
And a line I applaud just in general.
Yes.
And that I feel like a jerk for saying this, but in many aspects of my life, I live it that way. Some people just need to be told a story because that's going to be better for them.
Yeah.
So good for you, Carol.
I gotta say too is I haven't really looked much into Melissa McBride until last night. I was like, man, she is so good. What has she really done before? And looking up her IMDb, she's really not had a whole lot of a resume and just small roles here and there. And man, just a waste of talent to this point. But I'm so glad that we're getting it now because she's amazing. And I'm definitely a Melissa McBride fan for life.
I'd love to see her to get a second act of her life as a Liam Neeson-esque character who gets kind of the Taken style movies and gets to do that kind of thing. I think she could pull it off.
That's fun to a point, but at the same time, be like, well, this is kind of silly. I mean, if you know her from this, that would be surprising, I guess, if you saw her. Now.
I don't mean just specifically those types of movies, but she's shown such a range on the show, even just particularly the second half of the season. I think of Liam Neeson as that kind of that second act actor who has really changed his trajectory in the last few years. I think she could do the same thing, not necessarily just with Taken style movies, but she could definitely do that as well as just lots of roles in general.
Give us a remake of Mr. and Mrs. Smith with John Hamm and her.
Okay. I've never seen the original one, but I would watch that. So.
Getting back to the episode,
we have to? No.
Yeah, Rick are you guys cool with like at this point in the episode, cool with like what Rick's like? Rick wakes up from his his crazy stupor, and even after he's like awake and like he's talking to Michonne and everybody about things, he's kind of his next is like his decision now is to like, well, after the town meeting tonight, if things aren't going our way, we're just gonna take them and threaten to slit their throats. And I'm like,
and it's a very specific plan.
Yes.
You're gonna grab this person, you're gonna grab these two people, I'm gonna grab these two people. Like he's got it worked out.
and I got like I have the Michonne look in my eye at Rick, and it was like, okay, Rick, I mean, you calm down kinda, but you're still this is some wild stuff you're saying here. I mean, it's not like these are people that are doing harm; these are just people that are children. It's like this is hardcore stuff. I'm not sure I was all with it.
I was surprised they didn't have him restrained to the bed.
Yeah.
I mean, because it wasn't just, a crazy rant. It was, definitely cranked to an 11, psychotic, slinging a gun at everybody. I mean, to me,
Yeah, the punishment rule in Alexandria. The punishment rule in Alexandria are pretty lax, it seems. It's like, well, just put him in a house that's not locked, and
Yeah, basically you get your own house. That's the only consequence. That's what I saw.
you get a house, and you get a house, and you get a house.
To answer your original question, Aaron, am I cool with it? I mean, I don't agree with his plan, but at the same time, I do think that is the plan Rick would have.
Yeah, I see where he's coming from. I don't like. It's not betraying the character. I'm not saying that. It's just like I certainly have a certain stance in regards to his methods of madness at this point. It's not in favor of him.
I think that it's kind of a precursor, for the speech at the end. We're seeing him still kind of with a few marbles rattling around at this point. And he's kind of, he still has that mindset of, we're just going to have to take it. Whereas, at the end, he's got that speech where we'll get to it. But I think that it kind of bookended the Rick storyline in this episode.
I agree, and yeah, again, I'm asking specific to this scene, and the understanding I have of him later on makes I'm behind that a lot more than I am with him here, I guess.
But to answer your question, yeah, I wasn't cool with his thought process in this.
It was like it was the most devastating contingency plan possible.
But at least if I remember correctly, Michonne came in as the voice of reason of, hey, let's think this through.
Yeah.
And he makes it clear they're only going to threaten to slit the throats. They're probably not going to do it. Probably.
You have to say probably twice. See, that gives concern.
So meanwhile, Maggie is over with Deanna, and she's trying to talk her out of organizing the forum. She's unsuccessful in doing this, but she's determined to talk to the rest of the town to sway their opinion. And Reg does come over and speak with Maggie, and says that I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but he's on her side. He's also going to try to talk Deanna down from kicking Rick out.
Reg walks over and he starts like making some like reference to something. I just got to sigh. I was like, all right, here we go. Here comes the history lesson for Maggie.
Reg is the epitome of what Rick's point and everybody's point is about the original Alexandriites. You guys are so blinded by the world we're living in, and you can just tell Reg, he's so resigned to living this almost retirement life in this community, and it's like, come on, which in turn ends up getting him killed.
But at the same time, you don't dislike the character. At least I don't.
No, I didn't dislike him. I liked him a lot, but my whole thing is he was the ultimate representation of ignorance of what is really going on in the world.
Right. Rick pays a visit to Jesse, who thanks him for his help, and Rick promises to keep protecting her as best he can, at least. And then later, Michonne comes to Rick. And he admits to her that he and Carol both stole the guns from the armory, and he tries to return the gun that Carol had given him, her gun that she had. Well, I guess this might have been Daryl's gun. There's 3 guns around.
Yeah,
one was confiscated.
it was the one that Daryl didn't take. Yeah.
Right. Which I like that they worked that back in, and it served 2 purposes. It's not just Daryl showing you Daryl's character development, but it also has this plot reason to exist for later on. That was smart. So he tries to give the gun back to Michonne, or to Michonne, to turn it in, basically. And Michonne says that she would not have stopped him, and that she knocked Rick out to protect him at the end of last episode. Him, not Alexandria, was what she was trying to protect. She just thought he needed to get punched right about then, and quite honestly, I'm not going to disagree with her on that.
Yeah.
She also tells Rick that she is confident that they can find a way to integrate with Alexandria, but she will still follow him even if they cannot, and she refuses to take the gun that he tries to turn into her.
This is why I'm like all team Michonne here. Like she's very reasonable about everything. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna stick with my family, but at the same time, we have houses. Like we have houses and power. We don't have it anywhere else.
But if they kill everybody, they can have twice the amount of houses. I don't think you're understanding this. Double houses.
This isn't Monopoly.
You can have a weekend house and a weekday house.
You get a house next to your garbage.
And just what you said a few minutes ago, I'd feel much safer being with the Daryl with the crossbow than I would with the Daryl with the gun. So I'm glad that gun didn't go with him.
Daryl goes to pay a visit to Pete with tuna pasta bake. This was the scene we saw in Talking Dead last week, although we get a lot more of it here. And as cool as I thought it was in Talking Dead, it's way better in its finished form with some of the stuff that happens at the end here. Yes. She tells him to go check on Tara, who is still wounded and unconscious. And when he refuses, Carol pulls a knife on him and threatens him, saying that she can get away with claiming self-defense because no one's going to believe I would attack you, but everyone would believe you attacked me. And she tells him, and by the way, when you're done with this pasta bake, this tuna bake, I want my dish back and clean. And as when she leaves, Pete throws the pasta bake on the floor and has a nervous breakdown.
I was a little disappointed because I was expecting her to just go ahead and put the knife up through his skull. I mean, because she's right. She could have got away with it very easily.
It's great to see her actually threaten a wife beater with a knife like that after all she went through in the first season with her own husband. I mean, it's just kind of this weird kind of karmic return on her investment, I guess.
I think the logic of not killing him is that if you killed him, who do you think they blame? The man that just beat him up in the street. So I mean, that wouldn't help anybody. Just be more ammunition to get Rick kicked out.
Yeah, good point.
Well, I mean, she could say, oh, she run out of the street screaming, he just attacked me, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of just logic. Why'd you have that really big knife in your hand to begin with? I mean,
you got the pasta bake, you got the slice.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it's really tough pasta bake.
There's also the pragmatic of, he is the surgeon.
Yeah,
he's
still
someone we need. Yeah. And by the way, Pork Chick's a real Pork Chick in this episode. Like, it's nice to be angry, but I mean, there's someone that needs medical attention that you can be tending to. You don't have to be like a huge Pork Chick about it. But there was not doing anything, slamming things down. Apparently, he had alcohol, I guess, even though that's weird they get access to that. But
I'd imagine he's one of those drunks who just has stashes all over town.
Just in case.
Like in everybody's house, there's just some bottle that they don't know about that he's got stashed there.
Yeah. By the way, has anyone watched that Pork Chick video that the actor Corey?
Yes.
I got it saved in my queue, but I haven't watched it yet.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So Abraham visits Tara and talks with Eugene, and Eugene credits Abraham for getting them to Alexandria and apologizes for lying to him about Washington, D.C., and Abraham also apologizes to Eugene, and Eugene says, oh, there's no need for you to apologize, and he goes, I was going to kill you, and he says, well, that is a good point.
That's a good scene. I like these two actors together, they're doing the thing, but the setup to it where Rosita just pushes over the thing to wake him up, the look that Abraham gave, just like, you bitch. Like, that was the perfect reaction shot that he had.
And her response to him was
yeah, just kind of like,
what are you going to do about it?
What a porch bitch.
Outside the walls, Sasha goes out to bury a group of walkers she had killed, presumably the same walker she had killed from the tower last week's episode. Yeah. She's still emotionally unstable, and she kind of slips and slides down into the grave, and then eventually she lies among the walker corpses and seems to at least somewhat fall asleep, which I know a lot of people have problems with this scene. I kind of like the symmetry between it and earlier in the season where she couldn't sleep in a house, but she can sleep here on a pile of corpses. It's a lot heavy-handed, but I kind of like it at the same time.
Yeah, I like your point there, but also just kind of creepy, but not as creepy as Melissa McBride on The Talking Dead talking about it as she found it peaceful and lovely or whatever she said. I'm like, okay.
Well, I kind of agree with her. I get exactly what they're going for it. It makes a lot of sense in its weirdness.
I don't have much to add that doesn't reflect the same opinions I've had on Sasha's character throughout the recent episodes, but I will say that when she lied down and they had that shot of her, I just laughed out loud. Just whatever, I don't care. The second she started trudging along with the wagon in her hand, I'm like, I get it, and then just kept going.
And I'm hoping, by the way, her storyline resolves at the end of this episode, that's kind of putting that storyline to bed.
Yeah, given they're all like,
we'll see.
Prayer City at the end of the episode.
Yeah, Prayer Circle.
Hopefully their little kumbaya moment, buttons all that up for her and for Gabriel's ridiculous storyline.
Here's open. So Daryl and Aaron are out on the road. They're finding evidence of other people moving around through the forest, and they begin to track them. And Aaron tells Daryl about how he recruited a group of survivors who were ultimately exiled from Alexandria, and he had to escort them out without their weapons. These are the 3 people that Deanna had mentioned exiling earlier in the season. And they see a lone survivor wearing a red poncho, who's never given a name, but you can pretty much guess his fate because he's wearing a red poncho. They see him in the middle of the field, and they can see that he has skills. He's rubbing himself with wild leeks to keep away mosquitoes. He's avoiding zombies. He seems to be the type of person that they would like to bring in, but they're going to use their microphones and listen in on him before they make a final decision.
I'd be surprised if the exiled people would not be, turn out to be the wolves. Like they form their own group as this, and that's where that's going. That's my guess on this at this point in terms of we've had people and then they're gone. So
my only reason for thinking it won't be that is a reason we'll get into towards the end of the episode. But the thing that Del and Arno find, if they already knew what the town looked like, then why would they need to find that? You know what I mean?
Good point.
It does tell them that's where they were from. But if they already know that's there, then they were already a threat without finding that thing that we'll get to.
I mean, the focus is with having seeing pictures of Rick and his son. And I can see where it goes either way. At the same time, Governor came back. He already knows what's going on. I mean, there's things. I don't know. Just a thought on that, I guess.
And I totally get your logic on it. So they lose track of Red Poncho, and they come up to this warehousing kind of building with a bunch of food trucks at it. They decide to scavenge for some supplies. Aaron finds a Alaska license plate, which he's going to add to his collection, and then they go to open up one of the trucks. And they've already seen there were some zombies inside the gates because this isn't like a gated off area. There's some zombies there. They killed them, and there are like cans hanging from strings off these trucks. It's very Dawn of the Dead, which will come back later. And when they open up one of the trucks, all the trucks kind of snap open more or less at the same time. They're a little bit staggered, and they are just filled with walkers. Some of them freestanding, some of them hung up on hooks, and are just torsos. Apparently, the 2 zombies they found out in the woods last week, the torso and the girl tied to the tree, they're in there. I did not see them, but this is what the internet says, so I will at least give it some credence. And the zombies just file out and start surrounding them. Aaron uses the license plate to kill one of the zombies, which was cool, if a little low tech.
But it does mean that he has a license to kill.
Daryl grabs a chain and, I believe it was Rich went out earlier, goes Ghost Rider, full Ghost Rider on him, which was awesome. Takes out 3 in one shot, and I'm sure we will never see that move again. But it was cool the one time we did see it.
It's like people writing ways for Daryl to kill people, and that's one of them. So check that one off the list, guys.
And they take shelter inside of a car. And at first they're thinking, okay, we'll stay in this car until the zombies lose interest in us, and then we'll get away. Aaron finds a note inside the car that basically says, "Bad people coming, don't stay in the vehicle," which was very helpful. Thank you, whoever died there last. And so Daryl decides he's going to do the sacrifice play, or at least the potential sacrifice play, and he'll jump out and distract them so Aaron can get away. Aaron says, "No way in hell that's happening. We're doing this together." And they're just about to jump out and try fighting their way through when Morgan shows up and saves the day, starts taking out zombies. They get out of the complex and get outside the gate, and they make their introductions.
Yeah, it is a great scene, and you know that Daryl is serious about sacrificing himself because he smokes.
Yeah,
he's like, "No, I want to finish my cigarette." He actually breaks out a cigarette and smokes. So you know it's gonna hit the fan then.
This scene is so great for so many reasons. One, yes, everyone all the Norman Reedus fans around the globe are clenching right now. It's like, what's gonna happen? Then you have Aaron and Daryl we're gonna go Butch Cassidy on this one. I just want to see Sepia Tone fade out as they just run into zombies and nothing but zombies around them. And then the episode's so good that I forgot that Morgan existed, and so he comes in and I'm rooting because it's like, oh my god, that's an amazing save just now, and just everything works out and it's wonderful. And then Morgan has a great line when they ask him why, and he's like, why? Because all life is precious, Daryl, and it's just great. Everything about this is great.
Yeah, so they pretty much immediately go, "You seem like a cool dude, and all life is precious. Sounds good. You want to come to our town with us? We've got supplies and walls. It'll be great." But Morgan politely refuses, and he says he's trying to get to DC, and he shows him this map he picked up in a church. And Daryl sees the note from Abraham to Rick Grimes on it, and they kind of just look at each other, and then we cut away to other parts. But basically, the idea is Daryl's probably heard of Morgan at some point. He, of course, is going to remember the walkie-talkies from season 2 and all that kind of stuff. And things off-screen come together pretty quickly, and they go off together towards Alexandria, which we won't catch up on until the end of the episode, but it's pretty straightforward.
This is like a season 2, 3 episode arc turned into one 5-minute sequence, which I really like.
yes, no kidding.
But oh my god, everything about this is so good. Even there's a little detail where after they fight off all the zombies, and then Morgan takes out another handkerchief and cleans off his staff again that you see at the beginning of the episode too. He's taking care of that staff, which I like. But the reaction Aaron has when they close the gates, and he puts his hands on his thighs and takes a breath. He's like, "Thanks." That was amazing. And that's what I was thinking. He's like, "This is amazing. This is so good right now."
So later that night, we catch up with Del and Arno outside that same complex, and they have Red Poncho guy with them. But in case you were thinking he was part of the group, no, he is not. They very quickly slit his throat, and they reset the trap. They've got kind of a what do you call that? It's like a key dongle that basically they can start something from wirelessly, and it turns on music, flashing lights, maybe even some fireworks. Actually, I guess the music was just the sound.
Just the music, and the lights were blinking. They're flashing lights going out inside one of the things to direct them in that direction.
And so that lures the zombies back into the trap. They close the doors, and it's reset. Why? I don't know, but I really want to. And then on the ground, they find Aaron's dropped pack, including the pictures of Alexandria, which now, and again, I like this attention to detail, now includes pictures of the people from the town, in addition to just the walls and the solar panels and the houses.
I have to say, though, I was a little disappointed in Daryl for this whole thing because just to blindly open that truck, I mean, the second they walked in and you could see those cans hanging, I was like, there's some kind of trap here. And, if Fat Couch Potato Me can see that, survivalist zombie badass Daryl should have picked up on that and at least been a little more cautious than to just blindly fling open the back of a truck.
I agree with you. I think the only argument for it is that Daryl's guard was slightly down. I think he was more focused on the fact that they didn't find Red Poncho, but they have something else they can go for. His buddying up with Aaron, and just kind of and the fact that they already killed some walkers, so maybe if anything did happen, it already happened. I mean, I agree with you. I do think Daryl's the kind of guy that probably should have been. I mean, yeah, exactly. We're sitting on the couch thinking there's got to be something in that truck. Don't do that. But at the same time, maybe he's off his game a tad bit for some reason, I guess.
This is also the sequence where we get that shot-for-shot homage to Dawn of the Dead.
Yes, thank you.
I totally spotted it in the show, and then an hour later I saw it online. And
yes, but by that time I already
I should have done that. But
yeah, there's a shot in the original Dawn of the Dead where, like I already said, it's kind of complex in general, reminded me of it with the trucks lined up and stuff. But Aaron has his machete and he chops down on a zombie's head, and it's like Jim said, pretty much a shot-for-shot remake of Tom Savini's biker character from the original Dawn of the Dead doing the same thing to a zombie there. Was it the Harry Christian zombie? Or no, that one stays alive till later.
Yeah, it's just a regular
zombie. Oh yeah, I was like, that's the same shot. It even cuts him in the same place in the head. That was very cool.
Yeah, I was like, huh, that's you, Nicotero. As I put my hands on my hips and shake my head, Nicotero.
Because at this point, how many times has Nicotero worked with Tom Savini now over the years? It's got like double digits.
They must have like a giant chalkboard of like trying to one up each other.
Well, between this and like the death of it was Aiden a few episodes ago. There was like a kind of shout out to that
Guts,
scene,
yeah.
Day of the Dead. I really appreciate those little Easter eggs in the show.
They shot a black guy like Night of the Living Dead. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of.
It is really nice though to see that even 5 seasons in, the show is still taking time to pay homage to the greats that laid the groundwork for this type of show.
I
do
really
appreciate that.
As a long-time zombie fan, I really appreciate it.
So meanwhile, Glenn, remember him? He's in town, and he sees Nicholas climbing over the wall, and he grows suspicious and follows him. And while he's tracking him, he is shot and wounded by Nicholas. Glenn manages to escape and later attacks Nicholas when he's off guard. A struggle ensues, and Nicholas manages to escape, and Glenn has to defend himself against walkers while they attack. And we cut away for a long time until we then come back to Nicholas trying to escape, where Glenn has somehow gotten away from the zombies. How? Doesn't really matter. And then he attacks Nicholas, holds him down, and holds him at gunpoint. Nicholas begs for his life, and ultimately Glenn lets the light side win out, spares him, and brings him back to town.
Glenn's a good man.
What do you think he was up to, Nicholas?
He was trying to trap Glenn.
Yeah, he lured him up.
I didn't realize he was luring him. I thought that Glenn just happened to catch him jumping the fence. So okay.
I think it could have been either or. I think it could have been him watching Glenn to make sure he got his attention as he was climbing over the fence, or he immediately realized Glenn was following him as soon as he did so and made a plan at that point.
First of all, how did he get away from the zombies? He's Glenn.
He's
Second of all, I mean, he's Glenn. I mean, he got shot.
He's a piece of delivery boy and he fought off a zombie with a chair once. I mean, he's
Yeah,
Glenn.
man, he got trapped with a fat zombie in a well and survived with a rope tied around him. He's Glenn, okay?
You remember Stu? I miss Stu.
Yeah, Stu. But the other thing, I was talking before about the direction. This scene was intercut with the scene with Sasha and Father Gabriel. I know you're going plotline by plotline.
And,
Yeah,
and the Rick stuff.
And the Rick stuff too. So it was like you had all these incredibly tension-filled scenes where people are making these conscious decisions of conscience, like tied together in the editing. I really appreciate that. I thought it was cool. Really great way to keep the tension and the action rolling as the episode went on without losing momentum.
I completely agree with you, Jim. I think the editing of this episode and just the direction, I think in terms of, as opposed to being flashy and kind of visually speaking, I mean, the show always looks good. I mean, I'm not taking away from that. I think the kind of filmmaking involved to make all of these storylines work parallel to each other is very impressive. And I think people that are kind of down on this episode because it wasn't eventful enough, I mean, that's fair, it's your prerogative, it's a subjective opinion on the episode, but at the same time, I think there's a lot to appreciate beyond just, pow, biff, wham of something happening. I think seeing a show that wants to take its time, which is why this is 90 minutes, and focus on all these characters and build it up to this kind of breakneck paced finale of the climax of the episode where you can follow these disparate storylines and be excited by each one of them because of the way they're all stitched together. I think that's impressive on its own, and that's something to be recognized.
People are actually saying that they felt it was uneventful.
Did you not read any Brad posts?
No, I've stayed away from stuff all day, so we could talk about things here. I don't like things to influence it. I already get that enough from Talking Dead, so I've kind of stayed away except for seeing the ratings. How was it not eventful? It was one.
I would say 90% of people agree with us, Rich. But there are a very vocal minority who really hated this episode. And that's their prerogative. It's also
Brad Milo.
there are others as well, but hey, that's their prerogative.
I know. Well, Brad is hard to please, notoriously so.
Yeah, he was also bored by Inception and never finished it, so I don't know what he did there. But
Oh, God.
So then we have our favorite, I think we can all agree this is our favorite storyline of the night, Father Gabriel. He decides to take a walk outside the walls. The guard at the wall tries to convince him to take a gun. He declines. He finds a walker out on the road and approaches it, and he offers himself to be eaten by it. However, at the last moment, damn it, he changes his mind, and he kills the walker instead by using the noose around its neck to decapitate, which, I don't like this plotline, I don't like this character. That was a nifty death, and makes me question what happened to the zombie.
Yeah, that, and then he kills the other one.
Yeah, the zombie was eating somebody on the side of the road, and he just puts the guy out of his misery.
There's an overhead shot of him that's like, God, everything's wrong with this scene. Like, the zombie's eating him, he's got guts hanging out, it's like arms off or something. Like, it's just like, oh man, this guy suffered. Jeez.
Now, the one with the noose around his neck, he had a W, right?
I believe so.
Would
So
make
I'm
sense.
thinking he probably killed himself, hung himself because of the, no hope in the apocalypse thing, and then the wolves came along and cut him down and branded him.
Something.
It's quite possible, or they're the ones who hung him in the first place. It seems like something they do.
Just rope snap or something. Eventually, he started walking around again. I don't know actually, because wolves wouldn't really leave. Based on what we know about the wolves, they wouldn't really leave a man to be able to get back up and walk around again. But I don't know. Whatever.
They do like suspending zombies. I have noticed that.
That's true. I mean,
they like dismembering and suspending.
that's why the classrooms are so empty. That's so dumb.
What was that reference to?
Nothing. It's just you said suspended. So like,
Oh,
all
that's
this
cool.
Gotcha. Hey, go on, folks. So he puts that guy out of his misery, and then he begins to cry because, ooh, he's Father Gabriel, and he knows he sucks too. So he returns to Alexandria, and Spencer is at the gate, and he asks Father Gabriel to close the gate behind him, but he doesn't. He just kind of swings it shut behind him, it bangs shut, and then opens up again. He walks into the town, just kind of mopey, and heads back to the church, where he finds Sasha sitting down there, and she asks Father Gabriel for help. She says she needs to talk to somebody because she's going through a lot, as we've seen, and he refuses, says, she can't be forgiven for her sins. It's her fault Bob died. It's her fault her brother died. It's her fault all kinds of bad things are happening. It's her sins coming back to her, and he won't help her. And Sasha says she wants to die, and it just becomes a whole big mess there, where eventually by the end, Sasha is holding Father Gabriel at gunpoint, but Maggie arrives at just the right second and stops her, and then Father Gabriel admits his guilt.
Or the wrong
says,
second.
Well, yeah, true. He says it's his fault. His congregation died. Maggie agrees with him, and then they all pray because whatever.
Couldn't even shut the gate.
And he
Couldn't even
like,
shut the gate when he came in. Are you kidding me?
He did it in like a cool guys look explosion style way, where he's kind of like pulled it closed and walked away from it. It's like,
Just couldn't even see if this gate closed.
I need one of our listeners to edit together a version of this that has the sad Charlie Brown music playing over it as he mopes his way back through town, because that's pretty much perfect.
Sasha stuff. Just putting these two characters together, I'm like, all right, well, at least you found a point in all of this. So good on you. But gee whiz, just these people, and they're fighting and no one's dying. Neither of them. They both want it. So good next season. Let's see them all happy together. Everyone forgiving Gabriel. Let's see it. Let's make him a good character. I'm over that.
Or just relegate him to the background and never bring him up again.
Exactly. Because, I'm sorry, after what Maggie overheard, I don't feel that he could ever be trusted again. I don't think there's
that'd be the walkers that got into the compound because.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so Rick's heading out to the forum that night to discuss whether or not he will be kicked out of Alexandria, and he makes his way past the gate, notices it's still open, and that's a pretty giant red flag, and he sees on one of the crossbars at the gate there's some rotted flesh hung on it from a zombie who had made its way through, so he starts running through the town looking for the walkers. I don't know why he didn't try getting anyone's attention, but hey, whatever, this is what he did. Well, yeah, but it's light when he finds this, and it's dark by the time they're having the town meeting, so either that's some really bad continuity, or he was like, nah, I can do this myself. It's fine.
First of all, everybody wanted to get there early to have some of Carol's cookies. And second of all, it was much more dramatic when he comes in later with the walker. If he brought a committee with him, it would have blown his whole dramatic reveal there. So
I think, yeah, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Rick kind of like thought this through. Was like, if there's a zombie in here because these people are idiots, then I could probably take them out myself and then just drag one of them and really prove my point that way, which is what he basically did.
And Jordan, everybody knows that the sun goes down faster on the East Coast. It's science.
And Carol's cookies are delicious.
hey, you gotta get there earlier. They're all gonna be gone.
So Rick is searching for the zombies. He eventually finds them. There's a long protracted battle, and like you guys said, it's intercut between this, the town meeting, Sasha and Gabriel, Glenn and Nicholas, and Aaron and Morgan and Daryl all out there. So we're cutting back and forth between all these different things. But he does manage to kill the zombies. The last one in pretty spectacularly gory fashion.
Yeah. He like it was kind of dark, so I wasn't exactly sure what was happening. But he's like shoving something. I thought it was a knife, and it's the gun, and then he blows the face off, and the face guts. You know, the blood, the brains are like burning on him. Jeez. My exact reaction is like, oh, he's gonna walk the meeting and be covered in blood again. That's like gonna help his point. Then he tried to walk with him.
And it really helps his point.
Yes,
One
exactly.
of my things with the scene is I thought he was shoving the gun up through the bottom of the zombie's skull, as in he didn't want to take a shot and alert the rest of the town. But then he does take the shot. So why didn't he just shoot to begin with? Why did he have to do the dramatic, shoving the gun up? Other than I guess good screen. The other thing too though is getting the zombie juice in his mouth.
His mouth and eyes were closed. I did go back and rewatch that, and he definitely shuts both of them before he pulls the trigger.
I watched it again. Yeah, he shuts them, but you see him spitting the zombie juice.
Well, I think it's more of his own kind of sweat and buildup of just the scene in general, just kind of immediately repulsing anything that's in any viscera that's in his way. At the same
imagine
time,
his mouth empty, and the goop is all on the front of his face, and he just expels all the air in his mouth to quickly clear the airway.
Yeah.
From entering.
Well,
Yeah.
and I forget that our main characters can't die of simple things like that. It's science.
I think it's more about the emotion of the scene and just showing like I don't think the show's ever been too concerned with kind of zombie entrails causing zombieism. I don't think that's been a
Details.
I know I'm aware, and I'm just as big of a zombie fan as the others on here, but it's like I feel like The Walking Dead hasn't been one to emphasize that as a focal point when it comes to how to become infected.
So meanwhile, while all this and all the other storylines are going on, of course we have the town meeting going on. Michonne, Carol, Abraham, Maggie, they're all there. They all speak in Rick's defense. Deanna then reveals to the entire group what Father Gabriel told her about Rick and his people. And not the very next day was when Rick and Pete had their knockdown drag out in the middle of the street. So what is she to think, of course, but that Father Gabriel might have a point, and that Rick and his people will put themselves before the town. But the forum is interrupted when Rick carries in the corpse of one of the walkers he killed, demonstrating that Alexandria's walls alone will not be enough. He tells them that outsiders, both living and dead, will try to gain entry, and he tells the people of Alexandria they must be ready to make tough choices, and that he will teach them to survive. And he tells them, originally I was asking myself, how many of you am I going to have to kill to save your lives?
My favorite line of the episode.
But I realized I don't have to kill any of you. We're going to make you stronger. And this comes from the conversation you have with Carol, the conversation you have with Michonne. He also had a conversation with Carl. Carl encouraged him to just talk to the people, tell them what they need to know instead of just doing all this crazy stuff.
Can we back up to before Rick enters the scene and just kind of this forum in general?
Go right ahead.
I think it's a terrible forum. I mean, for some reason, despite there being like many available houses, I'm sure they can hold this in as opposed to around the campfire where it's dark and not everyone can be seen. They're like, I guess the forum is Deanna brings up a topic and then everyone that knows Rick already says something, and it's just like it seems so unorganized and weirdly slanted. If like you're actually gonna have a proper discussion, like you're not
Especially
really
for a former politician.
Yeah, she's like not doing much of a job here. She's like, well, here's a topic. Okay, I'm gonna let all of Rick's people speak in his defense, and then I'm gonna bring up something about some guy that's not here who none of us know, who's also knows Rick to some extent. And then I guess he goes up to like, you're just saying something that someone else said. But how do we know that was said to begin with? What he said? Like, it's just like
The people of the town, aside from Deanna, barely speak. Like Jesse says a sentence, another lady says a sentence, and I think Tobin might say a sentence. But in between like monologues from Carol and Michonne and Maggie and Abraham,
even in like silly comedies that have like big city versus little folk logic, and then like someone's like randomly in the crowd saying, what about this? There was like rabble, like none of that happened at all. I completely expect something like that.
It was a very respectful forum. I'll give him that.
Yeah, good job.
I almost, because Rick hadn't shown up yet, we know he was fighting the zombies. I almost thought, are they going to kill Rick off? Because it felt like they were having this, awake for Rick. They were all saying these great things about him and remembering these things, and I'm like, man, TV shows that go to this length to spotlight a character's journey in the scenes like that usually means that character's going to be gone. So for a minute I was scared, and then he shows up with the zombie. So
I would have believed that they would have exiled him, like showing him doing like all this stuff to try and save the town, and then they end up like exiling him and ends up like empire or something like that. Like it's Rick versus the wild again, while everyone else is still in the walls, and that's like a cliffhanger ending, like something like that. But then it's like, oh no, Rick just has a massive speech to give to let him off the hook and return to the basic status quo of Rick's right and you're wrong.
People named Rick are usually always in the right. So
and Aaron's usually on into with Daryl's. That's all I'm saying.
We just need out of Daryl, that's all.
Yeah.
So right about when Rick is pretty much finished with his speech, which was a very well-written, well-delivered speech, I thought, that's when Pete shows up with Michonne's katana because Pete is drunk and Pete is angry and Pete wants Rick gone.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that was her katana. I thought he had like a machete.
Oh yeah,
no, that's her katana. Yeah.
You can add breaking and entering and petty burglary to his.
Well, there's even like an after credit scene where Michonne puts it back.
Actually, I just read about that in the synopsis. I missed that, so I need to go back and catch those.
I missed
a little bit more to it.
I missed it the first time, yeah, because I read about it too, and I was like, where was that scene? So then when I was watching it the second time, I was like, all right, I'll stick around after the credits and there's another scene that happened, which we probably should have expected given that the show decided to do that randomly.
So Pete starts yelling about how Rick does not belong here, and Rick starts to move forward and kind of reaches toward his gun, and Carol tells him, just wait, and Reg goes over and tries to talk Pete down, but Pete kind of swings the sword very awkwardly and hits Reg in the throat, killing Reg. Abraham jumps on Pete and knocks him down and gets the sword away from him, and Deanna's just sobbing with her dying husband in her arms, and Rick's got the gun ready. Deanna tells him, Rick, do it. He pulls out the gun, points it right at camera, and kills Pete, and at that moment we hear Rick, and the camera turns and we see that Daryl, Aaron, and Morgan have arrived and witnessed the execution.
We should point out that earlier in the episode, when Rick was kind of getting ready to go to the council, the meeting, he was kind of preparing himself and thinking of thoughts, and you're hearing a lot of thoughts that Morgan and him talked about in past episodes.
Right.
As well as Bob Stuckey.
And Bob, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a little fitting. It's like, oh, here's that guy that I was trying to get advice from in my thought process earlier today. Here he is standing in front of me.
Well, and this was a big mistake too, because her husband is dying with this wound on his neck, and the one guy that could commit surgery and fix him, they kill.
Oh, he was dead.
Yeah, he bled out right there.
Yeah, that's not something that even very quick surgery is.
All the
In
King's
99% of cases,
I was trying to be
together.
ironically funny there, but I failed.
better luck next time.
But I wasn't like I don't know why I was giggling so much during this scene. It was like porch dick, you car. It was just like so. It's dramatic, and I feel really because I think we all like Reg. He seemed like a good guy, but it was like, oh no, the nicest guy just got killed by porch dick because he I guess broke into Michonne's house where he knew there was a katana because why not? And his plan was to just like yell like some over the top like sci-fi dystopian future villain like Outlander, get out of our town.
Do not bring your evil here.
Pete Blaster runs Barge town. And yeah, then like everything terrible happens. Rick shoots a guy in the face as we have a lot of seasons on, and yeah.
I like how Chris Hardwick put it. Porch Dick has gone limp.
And then in our post-credits scene, Michonne is seen contemplating mounting her katana back on the wall, but ultimately she decides she's going to carry it as part of her peacekeeping ensemble. And back at the Wolves Trap, we see the Red Poncho survivor, Noah Walker, stumbling past a car in which Daryl and Aaron had taken shelter, upon which has been written, "Wolves not far."
Yeah, that happened.
But
that is season 5 of The Walking Dead.
Who wrote that? Because we know our guys didn't write that, and the only other guys that were there were the Wolves.
Well, I think it's just the well, yeah.
Or was it already there and we just didn't see it?
It was already there. We just didn't see
Okay.
it. I think because they probably the same people that wrote the note in the car.
Oh, because again,
Or the
I
Wolves
haven't
did it
seen the
themselves.
credit scene, so yeah.
Because I think it's equally possible the Wolves, who seem very crazy, that they did it themselves. Like, it's not like, did someone go to Noah's family's town and then write a bunch of graffiti after the Wolves left? Is there another group following the Wolves, just basically leaving notes? Like, I think it's probably just the Wolves being nutso.
That's fair, although I mean it's the same location where they set a trap hoping to lure people in.
Yeah, that is a good point, but again, they're crazy. So,
Yeah, you know,
so what do we think the Wolves' plan is? Like, what is their end goal? Kill everyone? Be the only survivors left?
absorb some life forces and take them back to Xeno. I don't know. Have you been studying wolfology?
I don't know, that makes me think about that HBO documentary I watched before The Walking Dead last night.
I DVR'd it. I'm gonna watch it later today.
Oh my god, craziness.
I don't know what the wolves' plan is, Jordan. I mean,
I kind of like that, though. I kind of like that I know they're evil, I know they're crazy, I know they're pretty clever, and I have no idea what they're trying to do. I kind of really like that.
I'm curious if there's like an entry program. Just, and I'm not being funny. I mean, just in terms of like, do they see people and want some of them to be a part of them and others not to, or is it a very exclusive group they have going? And
How many of them are there? Like
Or,
hundreds?
or
Like
as
two?
crazy as they are, he said to Morgan in the cold opening about how people were returning to being wolves. Maybe they actually, see people and they're like, are they a potential wolf? No. Okay, now they're going to be part of our zombie fodder stuff.
And they didn't look at Morgan, who's a competent warrior, and see that in him. I guess so. It just makes me curious. Like, what is their plan? Are they setting up traps with and they're taking off limbs and things of people and hanging them around trees and stuff. It's like, what is going on?
And they don't seem to have bullets, which I thought was very interesting, because if they're killing this many people, they've got to be amassing a good amount of supplies, yet none of those were bullets. So either that was a choice they made, like the Wolves, not just the writers and producers, either that was a choice, or I don't know what.
I think if anything, it's more like if we put a bullet in them, we ruin the body that we want to usurp all the power from. So let's use just hand-to-hand weapons and what. I mean, that's crazy logic. I can explain.
Yeah, I can buy that. It's something weird, but I like it.
We just play mind games with the guns and then get close to them and stabby.
It's also worth noting, okay, so by the end of the episode, the Wolves, whether or not they were part of Alexandria before or not, because again, we have no idea. Whether they were or not, they have pictures of Alexandria, they have pictures of Carl and Rick, and whoever else was in the pictures that Aaron accidentally dropped in his pack. But they are 50 miles away at the point that this episode ends. However, they have been to that area just recently, or at least we don't know, I guess. We don't know
We
how
don't
far
see
Daryl
the
and Aaron
W's on
were.
them. We don't really know how close the wolves themselves
Well,
are.
my question was, how far were Daryl and Aaron last week when they found those bodies that were fresh? Like, were they already 30 miles out, or were they only 5 miles out at that point?
Fair enough. They got the Daryl cycle and the Aeronobile, so I mean, they could be anywhere. Really.
Right. But regardless, I think we're all pretty big fans of this episode. But before we get to our bust ratings for this week's episode, let's take a minute to thank our sponsors. Of course, DCBService.com, discount comic book service, and your sister site, InStockTrades.com, or where you can go to get your comic books, your trade paperbacks, your hardcover collections of comics, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, other tchotchkes related comic books or nerd type stuff. Hey, the off-season is here, but that doesn't mean The Walking Dead has to stop. You can go to InStockTrades.com, you can go to DCBService.com, and you can pick up the Walking Dead Compendium editions, get yourself 48 issues at a pop at deep, deep discounts. Get yourself caught up on the comics by the time Fear the Walking Dead starts up and by the time Season 6 rolls around. You can get yourself a Michonne hoodie, you can get yourself those McFarlane building block dioramas that
Which
they've
are
been out,
awesome.
Jim's a big fan of.
I've got the Daryl with the chopper, and it is so detailed and cool.
And they're like hand-painted, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's marketed kind of like a Lego type thing, but it really isn't. It's just it's building a diorama is what it is. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention while you're talking about in-stock trades, this is how good a savings or how good prices you can get. I just got all four, the entire series of iZombie for $32.
Wow.
That's more than half what I would pay at Barnes & Noble.
Well, some of the featured Walking Dead stuff they have at their website right now. A Walking Dead Daryl Wings heat change coffee mug, which I think is kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool.
You put the heat in and Daryl's Wings are there. The Walking Dead board game at $15, which is over half off. The Walking Dead Omnibuy are going for 40% off. That's $60 off the normal $100 price. If you are interested in getting into the comics at all, there's a really cool Glenn mini bust here that's 25% off DCB Services price, $68. So definitely check them out. Even if you're not into the comics, if you want to get some cool, like Jordan said, tchotchkes or cool Walking Dead merchandise, they have that there too, also at deep discounts. So
I keep waiting for Invincible hardcover 10 to drop in the pre-order over there, and still waiting on that. Beyond Kirkman.
So, of course, head over to DCBService.com, head over to InStockTrades.com, let them know we sent you, and get your comics, get all your nerd-related merchandise, and get it way cheaper than you're going to get anywhere else. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. But in addition to that, we're also, of course, brought to you by the HHW LOD Podcast Network, of which we're all members, and are on tons and tons of shows. Rich, you just brought up iZombie. I know you and Jim over at the DCTV Podcast have been talking about the brand new CW show, iZombie. What are your thoughts on it so far, and what can listeners hope to hear over on DCTV?
Not only is it good, but it was surprising because now the reason I just bought the graphic novels is I have not read the comics before, and I'm already finding out that it's vastly different than the show. But seeing the previews, the little trailers and stuff leading up to it, its premiere, I was like, God, that just looks kind of lame. And I couldn't be more wrong. It is so much fun. It's a fun show. I like how Jim puts it. It's like Veronica Mars is a zombie.
Which makes sense because it's the same creators behind the show.
Right.
Jim, what else are you guys talking about on DCTV?
Well, in addition to a surprisingly good zombie show, we're also things are heating up on the Flash as we race. See what I did there. Towards the season finale, we talked about the last episode dealing with the aftermath of the time travel and the return of the Rogues, Rogue Time, and the latest episode of Arrow, which brought back the Suicide Squad, including Deadshot for a really cool episode there called Suicidal Tendencies. So it'll be out the same day as this podcast or the day after the DCTV podcast. Please check it out.
And Aaron, you're over on the Out Now with Aaron and Abe podcast talking about new release movies. What new release movie are you talking about this week?
Guys, if you like horror movies, and since you're watching a zombie television program, I assume you like horror of some kind. There's a movie out in wide release called It Follows that got a wide release because the buzz was so strong from its very limited release. You should definitely see that movie, and then you should listen to our latest episode of Out Now with Aaron and Abe, where we talk about the film It Follows with full spoilers, and at least one of us proclaimed it to be the best horror movie involving teens that they've seen since the original John Carpenter Halloween. So
wow, that's a bold statement.
Very much a movie I recommend. It has there's a lot of things I admire about it, and just feel free to listen to our episode where we talk all about It Follows. It's a really fun episode. We talk a lot longer than I expected about that movie and many other movie-related things.
Are there big names in it, or
it is a small? It was an independent movie that had a small release, but it has like a 95% of Rotten Tomatoes, and the buzz was so strong they're like, you know what? Instead of going VOD, let's release it wide. So it got like a 1,200 theater release last weekend. It didn't do amazing because horror movies don't tend to do that well unless it's really marketed really well. But at the same time, it's definitely worth seeing. So.
Very cool.
The top praise.
And of course, you can hear those and many other shows featuring us and many other people at hhwlod.com. If it's nerdy, there's a good chance we got, 3, 4, maybe 7 podcasts discussing it, and something there for everybody. So head over to hhwlod.com and find a podcast that you enjoy as much as this one. So, gentlemen, Buster ratings. 1 is bad, 5 is awesome. How many on that scale do you give Conquer?
I give Conquer 5 out of 5. I mean, this is what I watch The Walking Dead for. Good character moments, tight action, good zombie sequences, the return of Morgan. I just thought it was just great all around. Probably one of the best season finales we've had. I have to go rewatch to make a definitive statement like that. But yeah, definitely 5 out of 5 this week.
I agree. I think even with my minor issues with characters I just haven't come to like because of the writing or what have you, I think this finale is so effective in spite of those things that I'm happy to go above a 4.5 for minor flaws because I think I had such a great reaction to it overall and would be happy to celebrate it as my favorite finale of the show. That 5 out of 5 seems totally appropriate, so I'm there too.
Well, I'm going to give it a 4.99 out of 5. Why do I take off that 1%? That one is because every time you show me Gabriel crying on screen, you're going to lose a little bit from me. But yes, solid episode. I agree with everything Jim and Aaron said, and this is what I want to see out of a Walking Dead show. And it makes me want them to change the format to 90 minutes for every episode because, like I think Aaron said earlier, it gave it room to breathe and really be put together well. And I just really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm going to go with, let's just say you're pretty much a 5, Rich. I'm going to go with all of you guys. I also agree it's a 5, and it's just a great episode. Yes, no one died, but no one needed to. Like I said earlier on in this episode, I had that feeling of dread in the pit of my stomach for 90 minutes, and that's what I want out of a horror movie or a horror TV show or what have you. This is a show that has had many problems throughout the years, but has found a way around most of them, has gotten stronger through most of them. And is it perfect now? No, but I think this is about the height of what we can expect from the show, and if that's what it is, even with those problems of Gabriel and Sasha or whatever, it's still really satisfying for that 90 minutes and has learned from its mistakes and is just getting better and better, but it's reached kind of that plateau level, and this is what I love. It's giving me characters I enjoy that might die at any moment, and even when they don't, I still feel like I wasn't gypped, I wasn't, taken for a ride or something like that. The show just works at this point, and I'm thrilled about this. Is it always perfect? No, but this is a really, really stellar example of what it can be when it's firing on all cylinders.
I like Gimple's formula now. Every 8 episodes or every half season is going to be its own arc, and and when it's done, and we're moving on to the next one in the next 8 episodes.
Yeah, it's working out very well, I think, in general.
I know we're running along, so I don't want to do necessarily this right now, but I think the 4 of us and whoever else that we Rick sometimes feature on this podcast would be happy to kind of do like a season retrospective, just the thoughts on the season overall. We can talk about it a little more.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So we're going to move on to our listener started episode, but before we do that, Aaron, I know you have to run. You've got movies to see and hundreds of articles to post in the next few minutes, so we will bid you adieu, but thank you for joining us for this half of the season, and we can't wait to talk with you about Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be back. Sorry, I gotta go early, guys, but I will say I've been happy to write about it throughout the season, happy to talk with you guys about the entire season as always, and you can find my whole written review. It's on the Facebook page, which you're about to talk about. It's also at theyoungfolks.com, and I also put up a best/worst things about the Walking Dead finale over at where I work now at ranthollywood.com, which is also on the Facebook page. So feel free to check those things. I know a lot of people responded quite well to it so far, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
Alrighty, have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Good.
All right, so let's head over to the Facebook group and find out what our listeners thought. What say you, Jim?
Well, we have a pretty active Facebook group, the Walking Dead TV podcast on Facebook. So it's very popular with the young people. If you haven't heard of it, you might want to check it out. 648 members strong, which is pretty awesome. We had 18 new members in just the past few weeks, so thanks for joining us. And every week, not only do we post the links to Aaron's reviews of each episode, we also have cool links to news and features and fun stuff and all kinds of great groovy stuff. So if you enjoy The Walking Dead, definitely join our Facebook group, and you'll be able to follow along with a pretty fun forum. And every week, when there's a new episode, we ask our members of the Facebook group what they thought of the episode using our Buster scale. We, of course, had a lot of responses for this episid, including one from Mr. Brad Milo that you may remember from this very podcast. So we'll get to that in just a minute. We start with Jeff Rhodes, who just said a TN, an F and TN. Okay. David P. the third wrote in 5 out of 5. Oh wait, it starts in 5 minutes, and then thought better of it afterwards, giving it a 4.25 out of 5. There's a lot more living left than I expected. I have to know more about the semi-truck people coming to slaughter the Alexandrians. The Jedi lightsaber katana action was awesome. I would have loved seeing more of the storyline develop. The Carol fan double on the Talking Dead gets a 5, but I'll save that for the Talking Dead TV podcast. Yeah, I think someone else will be doing that one. I don't know. Pamela Burton 5 out of 5. I loved it. Mike Jones 5. I don't see dead people out of 5. The best season finale of the show so far. No major deaths and still 100% awesome. Morgan stole the show. I agree. Ryan Arnold gave it a 4.75 broken casserole dishes out of 5. Like I said, it's the casserole who really suffered here. Great season finale, and none of our favorite characters died with the exception of the hospital storyline. This season was fantastic. Kevin Berry 5 out of 5. Full beer fridges. Great way to end the Alexandria arc. Only to start with the Wolf storyline. With Pete gone, one can only imagine how much beer will be available in Alexandria. That's a good point. Susan Monk 5. Ball platters out of 5 plus extra credit for some tear shed at the reunion at the end. Carl Hooker gave it a 5. Red balloons, now red ponchos out of 5. My Walking Dead bracket may have been busted, but I was glad to see no major players killed. Stayed on the edge of my seat till the very end. Love the return of Jedi Morgan. 3 questions. Can Gabriel be redeemed? I don't know. How is Nicholas still alive? Because Glenn is so cool. And didn't they just kill off their only doctor?
Yeah, but Kara woke up, which I forgot to say in the end there. She woke up, seems to be fine, so they don't need him, right? Nobody else will get hurt.
Well, isn't Rosita medically trained or something?
Well, that's what Susan Monk says in the next thing here. She says, hopefully you taught Rosita enough to get by until I find another doctor. Everard Santa Marina 4 and 1/3 fireside chats with psychotic serial killers out of 5. I probably need to see this again to capture all the subtle things in it. I'm digging it because I caught myself thinking it was going on too long, but there were a lot of awesome moments. That trap the food trap processing plant was over the top awesome. Although who left the note? How do they know who rescues people from the car are bad? I think they're getting carried away with their zombie kill craziness. 3 decapitations with a chain? Please. I love it though, and I can't wait for next season.
I would guess that whoever's in that car before, seeing as we see how they unspring the trap, they most likely flip the switch to lure the zombies back in. And I figure if you were in the car and that happened, and you had the presence of mind to leave a note, you'd probably assume the people doing this were not on your side. That's my guess.
Well, Mr. Brad Milo was not able to be on the podcast to talk about it because he's a pretty busy guy. But his reaction to everything, all the other reviews was, "Are you people high?" I can't speak for all of our Facebook people to quantify.
Only the lucky ones.
Only the ones who can afford to be, I suppose. Possibly the most disappointing season finale of Walking Dead yet, says Brad. It felt like the next to last episode of a season rather than a season finale. I feel like somebody played a mean-spirited, tasteless prank on me, actually. Oh, Brad. Well, there's always room for dissenting opinion. Craig DiMonda gave it a 4.5 strange endings to a strange season. Loved seeing Morgan as Darth Maul, Donatello, Minbari-style fighting Pike, and the ultimate reunion with Rick at the end. Mr. Gimple, you killed all the wrong people off the season. Bob, Beth, Tyrese should still be around. Their stories were not complete at all. As executive producer, put down the comic book for a few minutes and look what the actors, what actors are really shining on screen and give them time to develop. We've seen enough Pouty Sasha. Instead, give that screen time to Abraham, where Cutlass is really delivering some great work. I'm hoping for Fear the Walking Dead, as Gimple has no part in it.
To rebut that, it's not like this storyline from Sasha came from the comics, because Sasha isn't from the comics. So, a lot of some of the stuff that we like and don't like is, and some of it isn't. So, I don't think they're being blind and only following the comics here. There was plenty of surprises for us who have read the books, even though some of the things were expected, at least for me, because I read them 5 years ago. But there's still plenty of new stuff here.
Absolutely. And the things that are taken from the comics have been kind of remixed and reshuffled.
Oh, yeah.
Max Silver, 5 out of 5 rocks to the head. Wrapped up the necessary plots and opened new ones, did exactly what it was supposed to do. And somehow Nicholas is still alive and he's still an a-hole. Chris Pierce gives it 3 out of 5 White Father Gabriel shirts. How he did not get blood on them, I will never know.
I was thinking the same thing and meant to bring that up when we were talking about it. But yeah, he had a perfectly clean white shirt the whole time.
Holy Water and Febreze had a lot of stains.
So Chinese secret.
So did Guilty Tears, I suppose. We had to put up with the Hyundai product placement in the first seasons. I'm waiting for an OxyClean or Tide with bleach plug. Gets out even the toughest stains, including those on your soul. As Aaron Newer said, he was doing this right now, but he'd have to be a real Brad Milo not to like that finale. Douglas Newman, 5 out of 5 Kung Fu Walking Dead sticks. Darren Napoli is a 4.5 out of 5 Judas Priests. Trisha Terrell Collins, 4.75 out of 5. Sasha gets up close and personal with the Walkers. I clearly couldn't be happier with Morgan being in this episode, and hopefully back. Oh, I see what you did there. Clearly. Wow. Because episode's clear. Wow.
Hey.
Smart lady. We didn't lose any main characters, but Father Gabriel, what are they going to do with that? Sorry, dude. October's a long way off. I can't wait. Shalom Bensavega. Woo! 6 out of 5. Morgan as David Carradine. I don't want any trouble badasses. I love the whole episode. Brent Jones, 3.85. What do I need these tissues for, Rita? Looks like just Brad and I are over here in the disappointed section. I absolutely love the Morgan story and him meeting Daryl and ABG making amends. It just felt like they didn't wrap up enough loose ends inside the wall, and we're all going to spend next year's first half setting up the showdown with the Wolves we all expected tonight. Rick's still not officially in charge, but at least we know the group solidarity is intact. Lisa Gonzalez, 5 unstoppable Glens. No doubt, man. Glenn was the real hero in this episode, too, if you think about it. Sarah Nichols, 4 out of 5. There's a vast ocean of bleep you people don't know bleep about.
I do love that line.
Loved Morgan, but there were some continuity problems. Father Gabriel telling Sasha Bob died because of the things she did. I assume he was talking about killing the termites in the church, but what happened after they ate Bob? It got dark really quickly. What was the purpose?
I didn't read that as a continuity error so much as Gabriel is a jerk and is just evil at this point.
Yeah. I don't know about evil, but he's definitely messed in the head.
What was the purpose of killing Red Poncho Man? Overall, I liked it, but the Father Gabriel storyline dragged the pacing down. 4.5 Dawn of the Dead Machete Zombie Kills, from David Garrick. I'm glad you noticed that too. Aside from a few issues, it was a great episode. The extra runtime was well utilized for the most part, even though by the end of the episode it was clear they may have tried to cram a bit too much in there. Some of the Morgan and Wolf stuff should have appeared a little earlier in the season, so we wouldn't have to play it all out here. Brad Milo defends his earlier statement saying it was a great Walking Dead episode, but a lousy season finale. There are great many wonderful and great things about this episode, but none of them are final season finale worthy. Ian Timms gives it 5 out of 5 perfect episodes. Richard Chopper Cherry Charrington gives it 5 trailer loads of Walkers out of 5. What an episode! How did it all include Father Gabriel killing the Gary Busey Walker with the news? Gary Busey does kind of look like a walker, obviously.
It's true.
Great to see Morgan in this episode. I can't wait for Series 6. And, of course, Fear the Walking Dead, which I hope you guys do a podcast for. Don't worry, we will. Thanks, guys, for a great podcast again during the series. Well, thank you for listening, Richard Chopper Cherry Charrington. And Jimmy Tucker gives it a 4.75. How the Harvest Gets Home out of 5. Great episode. The Morgan, the Aaron and Daryl. The main story were great. I thought there were a few problems with Glenn's story, and I'm definitely ready for Gabriel to go. And like I said, if you would like to let us know what you feel about The Walking Dead, you're welcome to do so and discuss the show with a bunch of other people. There are a lot of good, we have a lot of good articles on the site, including about the ratings of the show, some speculation as to who could be playing a villain we might be seeing coming up on the show, some stuff about the spin-off show. It's all there on the Facebook group. It's The Walking Dead podcast, The Walking Dead TV podcast Facebook group. Join us. Thank you.
Very, very cool. So before we close things out, do you have anything else to say about the season finale, or should we save it for a season recap show later on down the road?
Definitely stay tuned for a season recap show. Yeah. And if you really need a zombie fix, but with a little bit lighter touch, I definitely recommend iZombie. It's a solid show. It really is.
I still haven't got a chance to sit down and watch the first 2 episodes, but I hear good things, mostly from you guys, and from others as well, and I do plan on watching it eventually. So that's it for this week and for this season. But you can leave us a voicemail letting us know what you thought about this half season at 972-798-3830. That's 972-798-3830. Or send us an email, wdtv@hhwlod.com. And of course, check out hhwlod.com for all of our great shows like we talked about earlier. You can follow us on Twitter at hhwlod_network. Aaron is at AaronsPS4. Rich, what's your Twitter?
Chubtoad01.
Jim is at Yoda Jones, and I'm at Jordan FRM Jersey. And so until there's no more room left in hell and the dead walk the earth, remember, be still. Just be still. Have a good week, everybody. There's nothing to talk about for next week, so Jerry, you don't have to worry about spoilers.
Well, I did want to have kind of a not so much a spoiler section, but talk about some things that could be spoilerish.
Okay, so let's make a clean break right here. And anybody who doesn't want to hear any spoilers, well, you have a good week. And anybody who doesn't mind hearing some minorly maybe spoilery stuff, stick around. All right, Chubb, go ahead.
Well, this is mostly a comic thing, but there was an article, and I posted it to the Facebook group about potential actors to play Negan if he shows up. I don't know, did you see that?
I saw the article, I did not read it.
Okay, well, I mean, and there were some good suggestions there. Patrick Warburton seems to be one of the popular ones, although I don't know if I can take Negan seriously when I hear Putty's voice in The Tick. But
and Joe from Family Guy and many other characters. Right. I think he's a little bit too prolific.
And it was saying John Hamm wants the role, and Kirkman's not opposed to it, but Kirkman also has expressed interest in Andrew Dice Clay.
Could work.
I think could work. But what are your ideas? You two, what are your thoughts on who you would like to see play Negan?
Well, I'd already said I'd love to see Joey from Friends, who's the actor. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. Matt LeBlanc. I'd love to see him take this dark, serious, still comical in a sense, but very evil tone. I think he could pull it off, and I think it'd be a cool change to see him in that role. Plus, I think he's got the body type for it these days.
Yeah.
So,
Jim.
Michael Cena.
Maybe.
I said this in
Michael Cera, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was like, you mean John Cena?
No, Michael Cera. I'm sorry.
Michael Cera playing Negan.
Yeah, Michael Cera's Negan. Just like a really neurotic, self-obsessed kind of self-deprecating Negan.
I can kind of see that after him playing an alternate version of himself in that End of the World or whatever it was movie they did. I actually, on the discussion that we had on the Facebook group today, I would like to see them gender swap the role and have Lucy Lawless play Negan.
Huh.
I'm all for more Lucy Lawless. So.
Yep.
The only reason why I would say that might not be an option is just the sexual politics of some of the things Negan does. Gender swap would be exceptionally bizarre.
Maybe, yeah, but I don't think that they can go full force on the TV show with the way Negan is in the comics. So
I think aside from the language, they really can. I think Walking Dead's done a lot of that stuff before in smaller quantities. And it's not to say I don't think, I like to be clear, for anyone who has read the comics, I'm not saying I don't think a woman could do the things Negan does, an evil female character. I just think in terms of what is likely to play well on TV, that wouldn't work so well, and would also make some of those scenes, unless they gender swapped a ton of characters because they gender swapped her, I don't see that working. Like, it would just, I don't see a lot of people reacting well to that as well.
What's really a shame is that it can't be Michael Rooker.
Yeah,
he
He
would have been
been an awesome Negan.
Yeah, I agree.
maybe like a Michael Chiklis or something. I don't know. But there's a lot of good options. But,
If Vincent D'Onofrio wasn't on Daredevil, he'd be good Negan.
Ooh,
He's got that imposing voice and presence, definitely.
yeah, but I want somebody a little bit more boisterous. I think of him as more reserved. Although, I mean, he's an actor. I'm sure he has more range than I'm giving him credit for. But there's a certain over-the-topness to Negan that they need somebody with a lot of just colder personality.
Do you think that the show's going to do fan service to those of us that are comic readers and want to see Negan, or we go see him next season, you think?
I think it's going to be at least a season before we see him, if not longer. And I would say the earliest I can imagine seeing him, and granted, this all depends on what we see the next season. Like, maybe they just start working their way through plotlines really quickly. But I would expect to see him until maybe next year's season finale at the very earliest. I would expect to hear mentions of him earlier than that. But I don't expect to see him for a while.
Of course, I'm looking forward to if they introduce Ezekiel, because I think that would be awesome.
Oh, Ezekiel, Jesus. There's a ton of good characters coming down the road. You know?
And I say cast Morgan Freeman as Ezekiel. Not Morgan Freeman. I meant Sam Jackson.
No, I'd say for Ezekiel, you got to go with, oh crap, I'm forgetting his name. The voice of Hulu.
Keith David?
No, it's not Keith David. He played, who was the lead character in the Telltale Walking Dead video game season 1? Dave Fennoy. Dave Fennoy as Ezekiel.
I don't know him. So
Google Dave Fennoy,
yeah,
and he not only has the perfect voice, he also has the perfect look, and is a great actor.
What about Idris Elba?
I am really dodgy on Idris Elba's American accents. Like, really. I think he's a fantastic actor. Most of the time when he's doing an American accent, of which I've heard many different varieties from him, I don't buy it in the slightest.
Who says in the comics that he's got an American, that he doesn't have an accent that's not American?
I'm pretty sure he was from, like, Detroit or something, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure we do know where he was from originally.
Yeah,
I don't remember right offhand.
I need to go do some rereading.
But there's a lot of characters coming down the pike and a lot of cool stories. I don't think we spoiled anything. We can probably leave this intact. I might cut it up a little bit, and we'll see. But listeners, if you're hearing it, trust me, it's not really that much of a spoiler. Aside from the fact that, hey, guess what? As the show goes along, there will be more characters, and some of them have names, and some of them have body types, and do crazy things, both good and evil.
Thank you,
So,
Captain
spoilers.
Obvious.
You haven't really been spoiled anything if you chose to listen and you have not read the comics. But we can't wait to talk about the show more in the future. And but until then, have a good one, everybody.
Aye.
Thought it was me and you against the world, but you left me to the wolves. Who needs enemies when we got friends? Who needs enemies when we got friends like you? Who needs enemies when we got friends? Who needs enemies when we got friends like you?
3, 2, 1, record.
Now recording.
And that's about 9 seconds.
All right. Oh,
So did you read the news episode, Hawk Girl and Rip Hunter?
Yes.
Pretty awesome.
Yes.
They have their own show. Is that the idea?
There's going to be a new CW show based in the DC universe that Arrow and Flash are in. And they haven't quite said what it's going to be, but they've been gathering up characters to be in it. And so far, they've got the Atom and Captain Cold and Heatwave Rogues from the Flash show, and Black Canary, and now they've added Hawk Girl and Rip Hunter.
Is that a mix of villains and heroes? Or?
Yeah, it is. Like I said, they really haven't explained. I mean, it could end up being like a showcase show where they rotate, and spotlight different heroes in that universe. Or it could be like their version of the Justice League, or I mean, there's a lot of things.
It's going to be a DC-based Hollywood Squares.
There you go.
Whoopi Goldberg.
As a character.
Captain Cold isn't really a villain. Captain Cold's just misunderstood. So
I'm a big fan of the new Flash show. So.
Jim, you've got the Facebook. I'm assuming it's normal. Rich, I believe you posted the article, the link to the numbers, right, for this episode? Can you cover that?
yeah.
And Aaron, since you wrote up an article on the spin-off trailer, all 11 seconds of it, can you talk about that for a couple minutes?
Yeah, I'll give it a good 22 seconds.
Whatever he says will be longer than the trailer.
I wish they had said, did they announce it as a teaser trailer? Because I heard the first
Yes.
trailer will premiere, and I was like,
Well, it is the first trailer. It's just that's the type of trailer it is.
Semantics.
It was lame.
I mean, it was fine for a teaser.
It's a teaser. It does exactly what a teaser does. I mean, that's
That's what
same with the other teasers for the other AMC shows that happened last night. There were a bunch of 11-second teasers. So the Walking Dead trailer is popular, by the way. They had all kinds of big trailers. And
The
stuff.
Halo ones were really cool.
Yeah, the Halos. They got some Terminator stuff in. They got some.
Poltergeist.
There's a bunch of just trailers for just things that are popular because everyone's watching this.
Alrighty. Anything else before we get into the meat and potatoes?
There's meat and potatoes?
Is there anything?
I thought there was just Carol's casserole.
Well, technically it's corned beef hash, but I'm counting the actual ingredients separately.
Is there anything news-wise besides like I guess the Fear the Walking Dead is probably the biggest thing. So.
Fear the Walking Dead, the numbers, and
I mean, we haven't talked the show in general. Like, we have beyond like the trailer. We haven't talked the fact it has a title since we got that mid last week.
we talked about the title last week on the basic premise, didn't we?
No,
Yeah,
we didn't have a title last week.
I don't think we talked about the title.
We didn't have a
No,
title until
it-
like midway through last week. Yeah.
Okay, so we
It
talked
wasn't
about-
announced last
We
week.
talked about the premise.
We
Yeah.
did talk about the premise. Okay.
Yeah, but we didn't have a title until like Wednesday or something.
I misunderstood your original comment as we haven't talked about beyond the title, and I was like, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was talking
yeah,
about all that stuff.
yeah.
Okay. Alright. 10.4 million.
What did I say?
You just said 10.4. I'd like to make it clear that we're not talking about 10 people and a part of a
So,
person.
so it wasn't just us four, 6 other guys that listen to this podcast, and like half a person.
And one of the torsos inside the tractor trailer in the episode.
Well, I said 15.8 million, of which 10.4. So it already, I mean, come on.
Not sorry.
Yes, it is. I'm trying that new core curriculum crap.
I'm more of a sorry guys, but Monopoly. It's not long.
I mean, of course, if they can collect 4 houses, then they can get a hotel.
Yeah.
Go to jail, go directly to jail. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. I don't know. That was the only Monopoly reference I can think of. I'd be curious. This is kind of a topic, but I'd be curious to know how many bullets Dale has fired in the course of the entire show versus how many crossbow bolts he's fired. I'd be interested in what the ratio is. But
Daryl's, I think that the use of weapons in general he's had that aren't guns is impressive by any means. I mean, he becomes Ghost Rider in this episode.
Yes, he
and,
does.
And he killed a tank last season. So I mean, Daryl's pretty resourceful.
And that Ghost Rider move is the zombie kill of the week for me.
there's a couple pretty cool
That's a
ones.
good one. We'll get to that. Okay.
Now, are you calling them Delanaro because of the canned goods?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And because they need names, I'm not calling them man and other man. This is not lost.
Well, Wolf 1 and Wolf 2 or something.
I was calling them Romulus and Remus.
Rosen zombie, Gildan zombie. Daryl, Morgan, and Aaron, they got back, that night. So I mean, it wasn't too hard.
That's a good point too, yeah.
But they were driving. I mean, I don't know what the Wolves do. Maybe they got a Wolfmobile. Which, I mean, if they're amassing so many supplies, they very well could have some kind of vehicle. If they have like a home base, the Wolf Cave.
And they at least have access to some electrical power because of that trap they rigged up. I really like how little we know. Like, there's so many questions about these guys.
I like the number of toys I created of the wolves in my mind. The Wolfmobile, the Wolf Cave, Lego Wolf
Tower.
Mans,
The
Wolf Tower.
Wolfmobile has to be that they found the van from Dumb and Dumber that Jeff Daniels wrote and have spray painted Wolfmobile on the side.
Or it's like Teen Wolf, and one of them drives, the other surfs on top of it.
Or if they find a helicopter, they could be Airwolf.
Oh! What if that's like a mid-season finale next season where like they're dealing with stuff, and then like a chopper comes in, and Rick's like, now what? And then cut credits.
Zombie Jan Michael Vincent behind the stick.
Get to the chopper!
Good pronunciation of rant because last